It's Monday.
And good evening, everyone. ESS, Empire State Sports, presents the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. I'm your host with co-hosts Joey Rio and Dave Bartlett, and our guest for this evening is Timmy Hayes. Welcome aboard, Tim.
Thanks, Pete. Good to be here.
I'm going to throw it over to Joey for the time being, and then we'll interject when we can. Go ahead, Joseph.
All right, guys. Hey, Timmy, good to see you. Glad that you could join us tonight for this little show, this little undertaking we've decided to do over our pause. And I know if you were an AD today would have been a kind of crappy day for you because the news that we knew was coming finally became official today of spring sports. There will be no spring sports championships as far as the state is concerned. Whether or not there's a chance for anything to happen within personal sections still could happen if we come back to school. Did you hear about that today? And if you did, what was your thought?
Yeah, I did. And it's understandable where they're at, but you have to feel bad for the kids who, I mean, some of these guys, I mean, it's their last chance you only have one of everything when you're in high school. I always said to them, hey, you got one chance at it. As coaches, we come back for some of us, some coaches last 20, 30 years. You've got another opportunity, but for these kids, it's the only opportunity they have. So you really your heart's got to be broke for them because, they've worked all, hard. They've made it through 4 or 5 years of high school sports, and now their last hurrah is not what they expected when they started. That's for sure. They all have dreams, and I'm sure this wasn't anything in a dream for any of them.
No, obviously not. And like I said, I think we all knew that this was coming today. But still, it doesn't make anything any easier or any better. And being away from the kids right now is really hard. I don't know if you've talked to Gavin over in Messina, but really it's tough. I mean, this is about the only way that I can keep contact with my kids is in essence in this form or fashion or via email or whatnot. I haven't seen them. I haven't seen them in over a month now. It's just amazing to go that long without seeing kids that you see every day.
I know, and it's tough because I was talking to Stevie Lejean because they had bought some jackets for the team and stuff. And he said, I don't even know how to get a hold of my kids to get them all here so I can collect money. I can get them their jackets. He said, I have to, I'm not sure what to even do. So it's new for the coaches. It's hard on them. And like you said, how do you stay in touch with them? Because a lot of them, I mean, they're hurting. And what do you do to help them out? And I'm sure that's been a dilemma for your coaches and you.
Yeah. And I know my varsity coaches, they've done a great job of keeping a continual outreach to the kids. So that's really the only avenue that you can go down right now is just text, email, phone, whatever it takes to be able to talk to them. So
I know I was talking to the new football coach at Messina, Austin Coleman, and he was saying he's going to have a Zoom meeting with all the coaches. He just started a social studies job there, and he's going to be the new football coach this year. But he can't even meet with the staff that he doesn't really even know that well. So they're trying to plan for the fall, and who knows what's going to happen then. But he said, he'll use Zoom and try to do what he can with staff meetings that way.
Yeah, and that's where we're at. I think you're going to see that a lot. Coaches are going to have to, if they're old and antiquated, they're going to have to move forward in a hurry because this might be your way of practicing right now. So Timmy, why don't we let's dive into if you want to go back as far as where you went to school, where you graduated from, but where did college and in the starting of the process of coaching and becoming an AD. You want to kind of give some of that background to the people that might be watching for the first time, didn't know these things about you?
Sure. I graduated from Messina in '79, played lacrosse, hockey, and football there. Went to Cortland, and I was listening to your interview with Coach Sargent, and he went to Ithaca, and usually when that happens, I usually ask what happened. You didn't get into Cortland? And usually kind of goes that way, and they have some really good things in return for me at the time when that happened. So I went to Cortland. I was a physical education major there. Things went well as far as school goes. I thought I was a hockey player at the time, and I found out pretty quickly that I was I was a goalie. It was tough. I remember Chris Kilcoyne from Brazier had transferred to Cortland right when I got there, and that was unplanned when I decided to go there. So I was the odd man out. Mickey Locke was a senior at the time, and that was a great experience to just watch him play. He kind of digressing a bit here, but that was the year they made him put mask on. And if you talk to Mickey about it, he did not like wearing a mask. That didn't go well, and he hated it. I was talking to him this winter about it, and he still said, "Oh, I hated that thing." So I played a couple years of JV lacrosse there. I was a goalie in that too, and really got into racquetball and things like that. And graduated from Cortland. I went to started working that Monday after graduating at the ARC in Norwood as a recreation therapist. That was an interesting experience for a guy that just graduated from college. It was an eye opener, and I think it was rewarding, but I think I started looking for a job the day I started. And I went to BOCES after that with special education. So you didn't even have to be certified in special ed at the time. They didn't have people. So I worked 1 year in Canton as a special ed teacher, another year in Madrid-Waddington. I coached at St. Lawrence Central that year with Paul Miser. He was the lacrosse coach then, and worked with him for that year, which was a good experience. Then went to St. Lawrence Central from there and was resource room teacher. So I ended up with a physical education degree. Then I did online classes for special education. That's kind of how the special education part of it came in. So Ted Cott was the athletic director at St. Lawrence Central, and when he retired, I took over before Coach DeBendo. So things went well there. I coached lacrosse, football. So that was a great experience for me. I was pretty young at the time. I think my first year coaching lacrosse was Mike Mahoney's senior year. So that was quite the crew I had. It was quite an experience. Thinking back, I think when I talked to Michael about it, I said, "Michael, I can't believe you're that old." He said, "Yeah, you weren't very old when you were coaching me," and I wasn't. It was a learning experience for me. And then when Jerry Mahoney gave up football, I took over football there, and so I coached football, lacrosse, and was the AD for a few years. So that's the early years. Left there, went to Messina and coached football for 10 years, 9 years just doing the offense with Albert Nicola. And then I had 1 year coaching by myself, and then the AD position opened when Larry Jenny left. So, and then I did that until I retired. So it was it's been a lot of different experiences for me. I'm rewarding all of them, but loved coaching all the time.
Now, Tim, you never coached any hockey, correct?
I did at Messina. So the sports I've coached at St. Lawrence Central, I did football and lacrosse. When I got to Messina, I coached football. I coached hockey with Joey Phillips, and he had coached at Salmon, but coached with him for a few years. We won the state championship when I was coaching with him. And I coached the golf team. So a little bit of everything. I mean, it matters who you ask. A lot of people say, yeah, you did a lot of everything. You knew nothing. And some people might say, hey, you knew a little bit of a little bit. And, so I did what I could. I enjoyed it all. And the memories are great.
Now you're really not being true to yourself here. You were a pretty decent hockey player back in the day. In 1979, you were second team All Northern, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I did. Hockey was great to me. I loved it. I think back to the days of my parents just carting you everywhere back then. Snowstorms didn't stop you. Outdoor rinks. I'll tell you a story about how dedicated my parents made me be. That wouldn't happen today. I think I was 10 years old and I was on the Squirt A team, and my father was working. My mother didn't drive. She didn't have a job, and had practice at Alcoa Field at 5 o'clock. Well, I didn't have a ride there, so. Well, and I was a goalie. So you're 10 years old. What do you think would happen now? They'd call the coach, say, hey, Tim can't make it. She got me dressed up in all my stuff, called a taxi. The taxi pulls up in the driveway. I fall into the back seat with all my stuff on, blocker, trapper, helmet, everything. They pull up at the gate at Alcoa Field. I fall out of the taxi, go up to go up to practice. So there was no saying you weren't going to be there. And my father picked me up on his way home from work. So, so I did that. And that leads up to the Cortland thing. I had never been cut from anything. And that happens to a lot of kids. So, that was like my first experience of not being good enough to make what I wanted. And it's a learning experience, that's for sure. But I played for Coach Moore. He was a great guy. I enjoyed those years. I mean, Messina had great teams. I mean, you'd get 18, 20 shots a game, and that was it. Now you see goalies on all the teams. That's like an easy night. That was a normal night for us as goalies in Messina.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other night. I can't remember for the life of me who it was that we all think we're pretty damn good athletes at the high school level until we get to that college level and you realize you're subpar or you're par. You're not way up here, or else they would have been knocking down your door to get to you in the first place. So, yeah, we understand.
That's right.
Yeah, we understand. Trust me. So.
It was good. I still had fun playing hockey. I mean, I played a lot after college, went to tournaments and did a lot of things, but it was just a learning experience. At the time, it was tough to adjust to. I didn't do well with that. I ended up transferring to Brockport just to play hockey. And when I got there, I was there for like one day, and a friend of mine, Jeff Ziegler, who was a high school player with me, and then he'd been at Brockport. After one day, I said, Jeff, I hate it here. I don't like anything about this. I'm not staying. He said, I'll come get you in the morning. He said, we'll go do something. I said, you can come get me if you want. I'm on the first bus out of here. So next morning, I didn't have a roommate even yet. So I head down to the bus station, get a bus home. I walk in the house at home in Messina. My parents are eating dinner. My father's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing here? I said, I quit. I'm not going back there. I hate it there. He says, where's your stuff? I said, it's in Brockport. He said, well, how do you plan on getting that? I got to work. He said, how do you get down home? So luckily, I have an uncle that lives in Madrid, Pete Hayes, and he came and got me. We went and picked up my stuff. And so it was a big adjustment at the time for me of not making something and thinking I was still good and not just going on with life, So that was interesting.
Yeah, I think we all have little stories about going from high school to college. I'll give you my little story. I thought was one hell of a baseball player growing up. First team All Northern, a couple of years, co-MVP, and went on. And I got recruited. This is a very funny story. I got recruited from Alfred State College. Okay. Talking to the baseball coach and everything like that. I said, yeah, I'll be there in the fall. We'll get things going. So I get there to Alfred State in the fall, get unpacked. I go up the hill to the gymnasium. They discontinued the baseball program, didn't tell anybody. So I was so I ended up not playing any college baseball. But anyway, played a lot of ball after that. But yeah, we all get those.
Life goes on.
Yeah, we all get those wake up calls when we get there.
I just noticed going from high school to college in basketball, the difference in the quickness. My first day in playing with college kids as a college freshman, I felt like, I'm like doing this the whole time. Where'd everybody go? I mean, it was so quick, and again, at Salmon River, first team All Northern, one of the better players in the Division II, and get to college. And yeah, I'm nobody. I'm looking behind me for the ball.
Yeah, it's an eye opener, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So Tim, let's go back a little bit. As a player, did you have any stories that stick out in your mind that you would like to share with everybody?
There's been a lot of great.
As a player.
Yeah, it's there's one that my last game at it was at Appleton, and my brother still gives me a hard time about it. We beat Lake Placid 2-1 in the finals, and it was a great game. And he keeps saying to me, Tim, do you know that when the buzzer went, that Lake Placid, what Lake Placid was arguing with the referees about. I said, no, I have no idea. What are you talking about? He said, the puck went in the net when you were skating out to celebrate with everybody. And I said, no way. So there's a radio broadcast of it out now that I listened to the other day that Vic Perry was doing the games. Guy from Messina has all the games on there, and he has the audio of the radio games back in the 70s. And I listened to the whole game, and I listened to the end, and they're saying, they talked about it, and they just kept saying, oh, Timmy knew that the time was up. So I'm thinking that it was pretty close to, I never knew the puck went in the net. I was just going out and celebrating with everybody, and I guess it was close enough that they felt the need to argue that it was a tie game. It was going to overtime. Can you imagine if that would have?
No.
Wow.
No.
I probably wouldn't be here right now. I'd be hanging out at some bars or drunk or something, you know. Because nobody would have ever let me forget that one. It's like guys that drop the ball before they get into the end zone, you know.
Exactly.
It's the same exact thing. But I mean, I'm glad I didn't know about it. I would have been embarrassed. I didn't know until I was an adult. And you know, said, didn't you know the puck was coming? I'm like, what puck? What are you talking about? The game was over. So that's that. You know, other things as far as the player goes, and like coaches that made an impression, like Coach Nicholas. I remember in Messina, you just waited your turn, you know, with football and everything. So as an 11th grader, I thought, geez, I'm never going to get to play. It was like an every other year thing. I wasn't great, but I was good enough. I probably would have played as a senior and everything. But as an 11th grader, I decide I'm not going to play. It's a Saturday morning practice, so I don't get up. All of a sudden, my mother comes and gets me and says, hey, somebody's Coach Nicholas is on the phone. I go down. He says, where are you? Why aren't you here? I'm like, what do you say? I don't know. I'm not going to play, I guess. He says, well, listen, we plan practices for everybody to be there. He said, everybody matters. So we plan to have you there. And, you know, you should let us know if you're not going to do it. So I talked to somebody that Monday. I said, you think you'll still let me play? And they said, yeah. So I had to go talk to him and talk about scary. I mean, we all know coaches that we've had like that, but they're not as scary as you think once you go sit down and talk to them. It went well. He said, sure, get back out here. You know, we want people here and we want you here. That's why I called you. And you know, I tried to bring that into coaching. Everybody matters. If people don't show up at practice, you should give them a call and find out where they are that day, because you can make a difference in their life, you know?
Absolutely. Hey, Timmy, so what about, and now maybe this is kind of jumping ahead, but your involvement as a football coach at SLU at St. Lawrence University. How long were you there? How long did you help out? Your connection? How'd that all come about?
That's pretty interesting. I mean, that was fun. After I retired, or even before that, when I was AD and got out of football, I really missed it, because when you become AD, you lose your and you don't coach anymore. You lose your connection to everything. My biggest goal at the time as AD was how much money I could make in the concession stand. You weren't connected to a team, so you didn't really have a lot of goals. So Mark Raymond kept asking me, you want to help out? And I had gone to Clarkson and worked with Mike Britton and Clarkson club team for a couple of years. And that was fun. And Mark said, why don't you come over here? You know, we could use you. And if you want to help out, you know, come on over. So I did. And I worked with the running backs and with Coach Puck Haber, which was Coach Puck, which was great. And I enjoyed that. I had the running backs every day. I didn't have to worry about, you know, planning. That they told me what was going to happen. I came up with my drills. Practice plan was there when I got there. You just coached. It was, I mean, that was, it doesn't get any better than that. And you're dealing with kids that show up from day one that they want to be there. They want to be better. They do whatever it takes. So I was there for 5 years and enjoyed it. Then I got this job, but with athletics. But the coaching at St. Lawrence was an eye opener. Each step of the way, you don't realize how much you don't know until you get to the next level. And I learned more there those years than I did in any clinic I ever went to, and just hands-on with those guys and how they dealt with athletes and being around them, and then watching like Coach Mahoney, Coach Lacrosse, because I watched him a few, you know, with things since I was over there. just the way they deal with kids. I've always thought that you should video some of those guys and show that to the coaches, the new coaches coming in, and it was a great experience. I learned a ton. But with the new job with athletics, I had to give that up, and I miss it. I miss coaching a lot.
Well, it's funny you bring up Coach Mahoney. Michael spoke with him this morning, and he's going to come on in a couple of weeks. 2 weeks from tonight, I think we got him coming on. So,
oh, that's great. Don't let him skip his bus rides when he was a player for me. And him and Derek Bellinger and those guys and Chad Tessier. And here I am, 25 years old with those guys on. They were good. They weren't bad. They just were a handful. So don't let them miss out on that opportunity to tell you anything about that.
Did you coach Kisser as well, Derek Lalone?
I was coaching JV football. He was the baseball player, so I didn't have him in lacrosse. But I watched him play varsity. I saw that you guys are having him on coming up too.
He's on a week. Yeah, he's on a week from tonight. So yeah, we've got some of the old SLC legends from the late '80s, early '90s here coming on in the next couple of weeks. Guys that you were around when you were there.
Yeah, they're great guys. I learned a lot from them. I mean, my experiences at St. Lawrence Central were what built everything for me. As far as coaching, Coach Mahoney, Coach Jerry Mahoney, and I are still best friends. We talk like once or twice a week. Last winter, he went to Florida. Him and his wife went to Florida with Rochelle and I, and he's had the most influence on me as far as athletics go from the time I left college, and that just a great guy, and I can't say enough about him and what I've learned from him.
Well, you're not the only one that speaks that way of him, and you know that, Tim. And I was speaking to his daughter Mary Beth, trying to get Jerry to come on as well at some point. Don't know if they can figure out the Zoom capabilities, but if they can, we're going to try to get him on. Same thing with Mickey Locke. We're trying to get Mickey to come on, but he's got a flip phone, so it might be a while before we can figure that out.
Once you get Jerry to say yes, just let me know. I'll bring mine over. I'll set it up for him, and we'll take care of it. I better go over and work on their computer a couple times for him. I'll get him on there.
Perfect.
No problem.
So now that you know that we're going to be interviewing those guys, Tim, you got any dirt on them? We like dirt. We want to find out some dirt.
The fifth.
No interesting stories.
No, just simple one with Jerry and the principal, Mr. Francello, back then. I remember we were doing we had a small school Super Bowl against Saranac Lake at our place, and so that day Jerry and Coach Cooter and I go up and we set up a tower for the other team, and Cooter says, maybe we better put some tarp around it. It's a pretty nasty day, and it's protect them from the wind and stuff. So we put it up there. So we go over and have breakfast at the diner, and Mr. Francello comes in and he said, I thought you guys were setting up a tower for the other team. We said, yeah, we just got done. So needless to say, we go over and there's no tower. Putting that tarp up wasn't a great idea by any of us. Luckily nobody was in it because it blew over. Well, that same game, I don't know if you guys are too familiar with Coach Raymond, but so I go to him as the AD and say, listen, could we get your starting lineup to announce players? He said, no, we don't announce our starters. So he said, we don't have anybody. So that leaves me hanging. I'm young. What do you do with that? So we introduced the St. Lawrence Central team, and we have nothing to say about Saranac Lake. So sure enough, John says right to his team on the sideline, look at that. He says, just look at that. They give us no respect. They don't even introduce us here. I'm like, are you kidding me? So that was a setup right from the start. And that same game, Mark Mahoney was helping me pick up when it was over. So I said to Jerry, he was doing some things. I said, Jerry, I'm going to take Mark with me to do a couple things to help me pick up. He said, yeah, no problem. So we get back to the school, and Mark, I don't see your father's car here or anything. What's up with that? And Mark just looks at me and says, I said, they wouldn't go home, would they? He said, well, it's been known to happen. Sure enough, they forgot all about him. We had to search around to whose house they were at after the game. I had to drop them off over there. So Jerry used to bring all those, if you do get a chance to talk to him, the kids from the reservation that played for us. It was they were great, but we had to bring them home all the time, and he would pack 5 of them in his Buick and just go. So Raymond LaPrade, who was our manager all the time, said, "Mr. Mahoney, can you give me a ride home?" And he said, "Yeah," but he didn't know he got in the car until they got almost out to Helena, and Jerry looks in the rearview mirror of his car. He said, "Raymond, what the hell are you doing in the car?" Raymond said, "You said you'd give me a ride home." Well, ride home was just down the street, and Raymond didn't say anything. So Jerry had his hands full, but with those trips, we had a lot of good kids from Salmon that played for us, so some real good ones.
Yeah, that's right. That would have been the time frame that Salmon River had a merger with us in football when you were there, right?
Yeah, and our line was pretty much all from over there at one point. I mean, and then the running back. I mean, Craig Cree was a running back for us. He was very good. Big Boy played on the line. I mean, we had Lenny Garrow played for me. He was big. Lasanis Pembleton played for us. There was a whole list of them. They were a big part of our program, that's for sure. We used to get a dozen kids playing for us, and they helped us. It was a good merger at the time.
So when you left St. Lawrence Central and you go to Messina, now all of a sudden you go to, did you step right in as the AD at Messina, or did it take a while? And what did you notice? What did you notice size? I mean, you go from St. Lawrence Central. At that time, St. Lawrence Central was a little bit bigger than we are now, but we've generally always been a Class C school. So you now go to the biggest school in the section. How was that undertaking?
I didn't like it at first. So when I first went, I mean, football was going well. I was doing the offense. I had complete control over that, did what I liked. But I remember we were winning. I said to my wife one time when I got home, I'd rather not win every game than be here and put up with all this stuff. I mean, I really missed being at St. Lawrence Central the way it was. The differences between the two schools, at St. Lawrence, kids could do everything. You're into music, you're into play, you were on the lacrosse team, you worked it out, you figured it out. When you got to a bigger school, all of a sudden the issues come up. Well, you're either this or you're this, and it just complicated things. So I was resource room for quite a few years. Martha Slack was still the AD when I got there, so I did that. Then Larry Jenny came, and he was the athletic director. And when he left, that's when I decided that, I'll put my name in for that and see what I can do with that. And I loved it. It was great. It was a big change. I missed the coaching, but as you know, I mean, you're busy all the time. It was like, get to school at 7 in the morning. I'd go home at 9 at night. The turf field just adds to your job. You're going to find that out as time goes on. That it's just going to, everybody's going to want to play at night, and your hours just increase, and your responsibility increases, and nobody cares. They just say, be there, take care of things, and you do it, and you like it, and the kids benefit from it, so that's why you do it. And so that's how that went. I mean, I was so about half my career was at St. Lawrence Central, half at Messina. So a lot of different experiences. But looking back, the smaller school gives you a lot more opportunity, both as a employee or as a teacher there, and as kids. It's a lot easier to be involved in a lot of things. But then when you get to the bigger schools, there's more opportunities. There's more things offered. So it's a catch-22. It just matters your personality and what fits you the best as far as a student goes and as a teacher.
Now, as time went on, as the years went on, and now working at Athletics and dealing, I'm just assuming you're dealing with also other sections now with the job that you're doing, not just Section 10.
Right. I cover from Glens Falls to Watertown and North. So I deal with Glens Falls High School a lot. They're a great customer. There's some other schools there that do some things. Mariah, up in the mountains. When I drove up there this year to make a delivery, my GPS on my phone quit working. I didn't know how to get out of there. I'd never been up there before, and I'm like, I had to stop at a store and just find which road gets me out of here. And they kind of laughed at me, but it's beautiful. I mean, it's great over there, and cutting over to Ticonderoga, but so, and then Watertown High School, and then a lot of Section 10. So it's spread out pretty good. I do Adirondack High School. Cindy Lozon is there. She does a great job. She's a great customer. So I get to see a lot of people. I've learned that I'm not St. Lawrence Central or Messina anymore. You don't wear any of that stuff. I'm just everybody's friend. So even Ogdensburg. I get along with Tony and arch enemy, and now it's just like, hey, everything's great now. So I like it that way. I mean, I'll just get out and go to games, go to a basketball game, go to a hockey game, whatever. Just at night, go see different schools play, and it's a good time.
Adirondack. So that's Dave. That's down in your neck of the woods, right?
It's in the neighborhood. Yeah, I'm in Old Forge.
Oh,
Okay.
And Boonville's a pretty interesting place. I mean, I
Oh.
like stopping there, but it's interesting there, that's for sure.
Yes, it is.
So, Timmy, one of the things that I've been doing. I remember you helping me out my first year when I took over as AD here at St. Lawrence Central. I remember going over to you. I don't even remember what it was about, but I went over to your office, and I remember you asking me how long I was going to do this. He said, this year. I said, I'll do it this year. And then here I am 5 years later, still doing it.
I thought about that, about you saying that. I haven't forgot that. I thought it's growing on you every step of the way. I mean, you get deeper and deeper. You're never going to get out. You've dug so deep in there now.
I'm starting to, it's starting to feel that way. Yeah, I am starting to think that. I'm like, holy cow.
You're ingrained.
But one of the things I have learned over the 5 years and is just the tightness of Section 10. It seems like everybody gets along, and if you need something from somebody, you can go to them. And I'm sure you can speak about that since you were involved in it a lot longer than I was. But it just seems to me that Section 10 is a special place, and sometimes I don't think we realize how lucky we are in Section 10.
We don't. And if you talk to Cindy Lozon about it, she says that now. She says going to the meetings and everything down there is not the same. People aren't connected. And a good example of connected is we used to have the relay carnival for track. So we had just gotten our track at Messina, and I had no clue about track. I'd never been involved with it. I called up Tony Bajork. I said, listen, Tony, we got the relay carnival. I don't have any idea how to run a track meet. I don't know anything about that. He said, don't worry about it. My wife and I will be over. We'll set things up. We'll take care of things for you. Just have a few people there that can help out, and we'll run it. Tony came over. His wife was the clerk. She got everybody set up, ready to go. Tony ran things. It ran smoothly. But I don't think that things like that happen in other sections the way it does here. Anybody will step up and help you out at any time. It's really rewarding, but people are just friendly. It's like North Country. I mean, people always help people out, and it's no different when it comes to athletics. It's the same thing. It's not so much just going out win at all costs and everything. People help, and it's interesting. Even the biggest rivals will help each other out when it's needed.
And we talk about how great the section is in the camaraderie and everything, and really he doesn't get enough credit. We don't say enough about him. We take him for granted, and and that's Carl Normandin, who's been in charge now. It's got to be over 20 years. They're pushing 20 if it isn't. I think it all starts with him, and to think how lucky we are as a section to have have leadership like Carl. Our NISFA president is Paul Herrica, longtime Section 10 connection. And then Dave's brother, Russell, is second vice president. So, I mean, we really have a Section 10 contingent from the top of, right at the top of the state. And again, I think it's something that gets overlooked, how great a job Carl does leading us all as being director of Section 10.
Carl does a great job. And when you think about his personality, it's perfect for it. He's not argumentative about things. He listens really well, and he doesn't make rash decisions at the moment. He sits and listens to people. He goes back and talks about it with people above him to figure things out. He researches things, and then he comes back and, you know, he'll give a decision. But he makes everybody feel good about things. So that's what's good about him. I've known Carl for a long time, and we're great friends. And when you think about some of the things that he does for people, he'll do anything to help out schools or individuals that are in trouble. And again, I can't emphasize enough about him being level-headed. Have you ever, you know, you've been around long enough, have you ever really seen him get mad at anybody about anything? He may bite his lip a little bit, but you know what? He thinks about it. He doesn't jump to conclusions. He doesn't do anything. He researches. Everything is, when he has something that he puts in place, it's well thought out. And he's talked to people to find out what's going to be best for the schools, for the kids, and for everybody in general. So that's great. And then, you know, Paul Herrick, right, he was around when I was, when I took over as AD at St. Louis Central. It must have been 1990 when Ted retired. Paul was at Malone, and I remember him as the AD back then. So he's been around a long time. And the thing about him, he's moved up the ladder, moved up. But you know what? He always comes back. And everybody knows he's there when he comes back. But that's okay. We all know Paul, and that's just the way it is. But he's always there. He cares about Section 10. He just didn't leave it behind, and he cares about it. And you know, the people from Section 10, I can bring back an older one that's the same way. That's always been that way. And Jerry Welsh, we grew up on the same street with him when I was younger, before like elementary school all the way up through. And you know what? He always came back to help out whatever he needed. And both my parents passed away. One of the first people to call me was Coach Welsh. He never forgot Messina or any of the people here. That's the way most people are here. So I'm just using him as an example of that. It's really great on how that happens. And then Russ, I mean, I go over, I've started doing some business with Tupper Lake a bit, and Russ and Dan Brown, we go out to lunch and stuff, and what a crew. It's an interesting place when I go over to Tupper Lake. But you know what? Get over here. We want to go to lunch again. And the best story I have about Russ, poor guy, I felt bad for him. I told him, listen, you guys are a new customer. I'm coming over to take you out to lunch. So Russ says okay. Dan says okay. So we head down to the Italian restaurant just down the hill from the school. We go in. We're all done eating. And so I'm ready to pay, right? Well, guess what? They don't take credit or debit cards, and I have no money. So I look at Russ. I said, Russ, I don't know what to tell you, but I don't have any money. He says, don't worry about it. He said, I'll take care of it. We'll catch up. We'll catch up another time. So that was embarrassing on my part, but Russ didn't make me feel bad. He did remind me when I went back another time to make sure I bring cash, but
Yeah.
I did take him out again, and that went well. Your guy there on the screen, Joey, want to take him out to lunch sometime, but the guy's so busy you can never get over there to take him out to eat. He never stops. Like, Joey, come on, I'm taking people out. I got this, I got that. Basketball never ends with him, and then now with the turf field, nothing's gonna ever end.
Well, you can always find me on a Friday night or a Saturday night, I'm sure, at a local establishment. If you just want to, open up a tab, I don't have any issue.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid you'll bring all your buddies over. Richie will be there and all those guys.
Yeah.
They'll take advantage of that tab.
I'll drive up for that one.
Yeah, right. Pick me up on the way.
All right. Well, let me know when you guys are there. We'll take care of it.
Well, I think the way things are right now, I mean, we're all desperate for a situation like that to be able to just be together again. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'd love to see Richie Lefebvre right now.
I know. My wife and I went for a ride the other day, and we drove by the river edge and thought, geez, look at that, the patio there and the tails. Can't wait to go out to eat and go out there again. all these things that you took for granted for a while. I mean, you're missing them. And like you said, Richie and all the guys everywhere. I mean, you're just missing those guys and the conversations that you had, whether, you know, a lot of laughs, and you don't realize you took it for granted. And now it's
Yeah.
like, you know, you just you're on Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
of our spring and summer functions are on hold right now, where we go and we meet with everybody. You know, Joey puts on a couple golf tournaments in the summer, and we all go up there and participate. We're all missing that. So this is a tough time for everybody, and we're just hoping we can all get through it a little bit. But Joey's right. I think we're all ready for a get together. I really do. And whatever establishment it's going to be, it's going to be catching hell. I'm going to tell you that night. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that having to be a big place that is open to some loud voices.
Well, Timmy, the three of us guys, we lost out on, you know, the return trip to Glens Falls. I mean, we were, I was so geared up, excited about Final Four back in Glens Falls, and I always see Pete and Dave, they make that trip. They didn't make the trip to Migleton, and I get it, because it was, you know, it's just a different area, tougher to get to. So with it being back in Glens Falls, I was like, boy, I'll be able to, it's going to be home again, you know, and then it didn't happen. So we got that energy within us somewhere that needs to be.
Well, it's going to keep, it's like being angry at somebody. You let it build up, and it's eventually going to come out. Well, this is building up. It's not anger, but it's building up. I can see it. I look at those eyes there of all three of you guys. I'm like, dang, this is going to be some explosion when it happens.
Yeah, I'll be done after 2 drinks. That's probably what's going to happen.
I don't know. I've been building my tolerance up quite a bit through this.
Russ would be proud of you.
Oh yeah.
So Timmy, you brought up Jerry, and you know, I'm hopeful. I've sent I have email connections with Jerry, and I sent Jerry one of our shows. I can't remember who, and I'll send him this one. We're hopeful that we can maybe get Jerry on here. We have Coach Bechtel and Coach Mitchell are coming on back to back next week. So some Potsdam State connections. So we're hopeful that we can get Jerry on here. And I only bring it up because of exactly what you said. You weren't even a basketball guy, but Jerry cares about everybody, and Jerry remembers everybody. And he calls me every year right about this time, because I would be getting ready for my golf tournament for the basketball program. I always invite him, and if he can't play, which he hasn't yet, he always calls to say, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it, but I'm sending you some money for a whole sponsor. And he's just one of the classiest gentlemen you're ever going to meet. And, you know, North Country was lucky to have Jerry Welch. That's for sure.
Oh, they were. And I remember I think I was in about 6th grade going, I wasn't a basketball guy, but Timmy asked me, hey, let's go over to practice, and we'll watch practice over there. So I go over with his dad, and we go over to practice, and Maxie's big, so Tim and I are over on one gym, just bouncing the ball. They're practicing over there. All of a sudden, Jerry started bellowing. I'm like, who is he yelling at? It was at Timmy and I. We were dribbling the ball when he was talking, and there was no letting up on us either. After that day, I thought, I don't think I ever want to go back there. And, you know, those are the olden days where I can still remember them practicing. Remember those what was blinders that they wore when they dribbled the ball, that they wore over their head, and they came under.
Yep.
That's what they were using at practice. I mean, things that high school kids would say, oh, that's ridiculous, I'm not doing it. His guys were doing it, and that's why they were good.
We did that at Salmon River. Herb McLaren coached us. Of course, he was good friends with Jerry Welch. He got a box of those, and we did those only because Jerry was doing them. And he says, "Well, we're going to do them too." So you know, we know about those blinders.
Yeah. I had never seen those before. I had no idea what was going on. But he got my attention when he started yelling. That's for sure. Don't dribble the ball.
Well, and you know, you think about it, Pete and Dave and I, we all played in the 80s in the Potsdam State heydays. And Joe Javenville for me, or Coach McLaren for Pete and Dave. And I'm going to say 90% of the Section 10 basketball coaches, how's Jerry doing this? What's Coach Welch doing at Potsdam State? We had the best Division III basketball program in the nation 15 minutes from us, and we all watched. We went to games, and hey, Coach Welch did this. I don't have any doubt in my mind that our coaches that we played for were like, hey, how did Jerry Howerhand and all those guys, Coach Myrna, they were all taking stuff from Coach Welch. How did Coach Welch do this?
That's pretty amazing. Did you watch the 81 game when they had it on YouTube just a bit of a week or two ago?
Yep.
What an amazing ending. And then the interview with him after the game when he says, I didn't do anything, it's the kids.
Yep.
It's these guys right here. They did it all. And that's what's puts it into perspective. Like, you can be the best at something, but where do you give the credit to? The ones that went out there and got it done, and he made sure he did that. And the interview of him before, with talking about in the past, and then seeing him at the end of the game back then, he hasn't changed. I mean, his demeanor is unbelievable, and wish more coaches need to understand that part of things. And I think even myself at times, you just have to take a step back sometimes, and hey, maybe maybe it's them, and he did that, but we all know that he was the mastermind of it all.
Yeah, we miss those days, and again, looking forward to Coach Bechtel coming on next week because they did come off one of their best seasons in years at Potsdam State. So maybe we're starting to see a little change in what's going on at SUNY Potsdam as far as basketball is concerned. So.
Hopefully they can get the crowds back the way it was then. I mean, you couldn't even, if you didn't get a ticket ahead of time, you couldn't go to the game.
Nope.
Oh no! It was standing room only to watch a game back in those days.
Literally,
people don't, my son Toby, he doesn't realize that. He's seen Maxie Hall packed for a Declan Porter Canton versus Cale Sargent OFA Class B championship game, and that was pretty good. Or the Joe Girard game last year against OFA at Maxie Hall, that was packed. I'm like, Toby, this used to be every Potsdam State game was this way all the time. It would be awesome to bring that to bring that sort of atmosphere back.
Oh, anything like that back. It seems like crowds for like whether it's SLU hockey or Clarkson hockey now, they're not what they used to be. And there's so many options that people have. They're doing things. If you can build something up though, and come close to that, and it seems like the right steps have been made right now. So it could happen.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
I remember after their first basket, they trashed the place at Potsdam.
Oh yeah.
I remember the days of Witherspoon and Roland, and when Witherspoon lit it up, they'd throw plastic spoons out, and then they had toilet paper they threw out. I mean, I remember my father calling from work and telling my mother, "Get the boys ready at this time. When I pull in the driveway, I'm picking them up. We're going to the game." I'm going, we're going to be there an hour and a half before the game, but I didn't realize at the time why we were going that early. But and it was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable electricity in the place, and I just wish the kids up there could experience that once again. I really do.
Yeah, and then you look at that crowd from that 81 game. What an amazing crowd that was on the road, and that was unbelievable. I sent it to a friend of mine that works at Athletics. I said, you got to watch this. I said, it makes you want to go to a game right now. Even though it was that long ago, you watch that, you just, you want to get back to a game, whether coaching, watching, or anything. It just gets you back in the fever of athletics.
Well, Tim, I want to thank you personally. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has any more questions, but when I started doing broadcasting and I got done my coaching career, I did 28 years between North Franklin, and actually Russ was one of my players in North Franklin when it all started. When Randy Mitchell and I did North Franklin, I went and I coached softball in the city in Rochester, and and full turn, and I've done all bitty ball programs at the JV, and then I got done JV ball at Salmon. I'm going, now what I'm going to do. And I took a chance at broadcasting, and you were one of the ADs that I reached out to and said, and Tim, I said, I'm coming to set up for a game up in Messina. I don't know what I'm doing, but if you could help me along the way and try to figure out, the Wi-Fi, because we were just getting into Wi-Fi back then, and how the PA, you were there way before anybody else was there, and you helped me out. I'm sure you remember those games when I first got there.
I do. I remember coming to the gym. We were figuring things out right along the way with you, of somebody coming and doing it the way you were doing it. And with all those things, it's crazy not to help out as much as you can, because for the kids and their relatives and their families and everything, it doesn't get any better than when people like you show up to do games like that. It's like, it's a highlight. And thinking back to what I talked about with listening to my my game from 1979, somebody did that game just like you did. It's there for somebody sometime. You know what I mean? So you guys doing that stuff, I mean, you're there for the kids. So, you do everything you can to help out. And I remember you coming into the gym and doing that. And I know the kids appreciated it.
Yeah, we did a couple games on, I think the lacrosse game, Salmon versus Messina on the field out there too. I remember we did a couple out there.
You did?
Yep. I don't think we did any football games. I'd done a couple at Joey's place, but that was way before the turf field, but I never did. I don't think I did any in Messina, but.
Yeah, I don't think so. I do remember you being there for lacrosse too, though, and that worked out well.
Yep.
And the opportunity to do games now with turf fields and night games, everybody wants to get involved with that stuff now, and that's interesting too. The grass fields, and it just seems like everybody likes the turf and wants to get involved with that.
Well,
I was just going to say is because Timmy's been over and has seen our turf. I know that he really likes our field, and it really does stink right now. We not being having lacrosse games down there, because I know Timmy, you've seen all of the turf fields, and I'm not trying to be partial to mine, but there's not one in Section 10 that is like our field the way it's set up. It's off. You have to work to go see it. You can't just drive by it. And then some of the views that we had in the fall with the setting sun and the leaves, I was like, boy, this is really nice back here. So, and I think you got a little taste of that because you did come to a football game, right?
Yeah, I went out a couple times, and what's nice about it is it's a pretty intimate setting with no track around it, so everything's closer, and the bleachers on the hill like that, but you still left people love that hill. You still left that over on the side. People can go there. It's you can't beat it. I mean, it was great. I couldn't believe it. It's like night and day from what you had, and people are going to enjoy that for years to come.
I agree, and hopefully, it's too bad that we're not out there right now in the spring, but hopefully we will be back out there in the fall, and 4 home games this fall. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be great. I'll be out.
Good.
Well, Timmy, we're going to wrap it up here. We really appreciate you coming on tonight. Very entertaining as always. And I really want to thank you for coming on. I wish you the best of luck in everything you do moving forward. And hopefully one of these days we'll all get north and we'll all get together and reminisce a little bit more.
Yeah, I want my free lunch.
Yeah, well, hey, wait until those. Hey, bring those 2 guys with you. I might as well make it. Get all 3 of you at one time.
Perfect.
Hey, I'm all about
Sounds good to me.
Free lunch sounds good.
Yeah.
No problem. I'll take care of it. We're going to leave Russ at home though if he wants to come. He's got a couple of his own, so just the 3 of you guys.
All right.
I'll
tell him. You heard about his new job, yeah? Tim, you heard about Russ's new job?
Yes, I just saw that the other day. It seemed like it was dragging on. I was happy to hear that he got it.
Yeah, that's great.
He's going to be great at it. He's just got a personality. When we talk about getting along with people,
Mhm.
he'll do a great job there.
Yep, definitely.
Well, Tim, thank you very much for coming on Wise Guy Sports Talk Show. We really appreciate it. And we wish you the best of luck. in
Thanks,
everything.
Tim.
Okay, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Yep.
Thank
for
you.
Joey, For Joey Reaume, Dave Bartlett, myself, and our guest, Tim Hayes, this is Pete Goslaw on ESS, Empire State Sports, and the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast tonight. And everybody, please stay safe. Take care.